We're back on the record. This is the Nevada Taxicab Authority Board. It's 11:47. More than our 5 minutes. So now we're going to take time away from the administrator. You have 1.2 seconds. No.
Thank you, Chairman. I think I can do it in 1.1 seconds.
Okay, I can name that too.
So we have provided a lot of information in the handouts. Curtis Mill's done a great job of looking at things. I know Member Graff had asked us about revenues and had asked us about fines and things like that. Like I said, a lot of information is in here, and without boring you with going through all of it, I will say that our fines and our driver permitting is about 5% of our revenue. So raising fines may help us some, but it's not going to get us out of the weeds of where we're at right now. I think we also included in here our fine schedules. They are in the NRS, and so we're bound by those. Our hearing officer is Ms. Webb, and she does a great job in the hearing room with the fines. So I'm happy to answer any questions if you guys have any about any of this that's in here. Obviously, the rides, and we all know, and we've been talking about it for months. Over the past few years, the rides are going down, and it's trending down. We are close back up to the pre-COVID numbers in rides, but we haven't gotten all the way up. But the trend over the years is that the taxi rides are going down. And I'll just throw it out there. It's one of the reasons that I want to see new technology come into the industry and try to help that situation out. So I'm trying to be proactive as I can as the administrator and try to help that out. Was that 1.1 seconds?
That's good. That's good.
Okay.
Questions?
Sure. So the TA does keep the fines? Doesn't go to the general fund, it goes back in your budget?
Correct.
Okay, it's just quick question, probably for Ms. Webb. What's the average fine for a bail loss? So say someone is speeding or runs a red light or something like that.
It depends on where they fall within the 12-month period. So $80.
$80, okay. Second question, what's the average fine for a UPT?
UPT. Difficult to say. I would say now it's between 1,000 and 2,000.
Okay. That's it.
Say that again.
I would say it's between 1,000 and 2,000.
Okay.
That's my only question. Just pointing that out.
And
Since you created this problem.
I didn't create anything. I guess my question would be, from when did TNC start in Nevada? Is it 2015?
2015 is when they started, yeah.
if I may continue with my response.
Sure.
I would say 95% of those are collected funds.
Collected fines. So $80, $1,000 average.
UPTs. Yeah,
UPT
UPTs.
average, yeah.
Collected.
So that's a significant difference. That was the reason I wanted to.
We don't hold them in abeyance. We
Right.
There's no action item you need from us. This was informational. Right?
Correct, yes.
Okay. That will take us to agenda item 9, which is a public hearing on the application for a pilot program by Deluxe Taxi Service. In a nutshell, this is an application to do essentially the same thing Z-Trip is doing, a different set of technology or technologies. We have petitions for leave to intervene of ACAB, Nevada Yellow, Checker, Star, UCAB, Taxi Management, and Virgin Valley and Desert Cab. I see no reason to not grant, I see no reason to deny those interventions, so I would recommend preliminarily that we grant the interventions and would entertain a motion for that.
I move to approve the interventions or accept them.
Second. Been moved and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? So interventions are granted. Tell us what you're thinking.
So, Mariano Locascio, General Manager of Deluxe Taxi. Just to step back here, I did program from 98 to 2000, which is the day of the dinosaurs of today's AIs. But I like to not just see it, I like to touch everything, but not that I'm not going to, I'm going to give Curb to show me what they have on their pilot program. Just like when DT5s are ready with Captain, I'm going to try that. I might even try Z-Trip. Just so we're out there, I like to put my hands on everything. Because even when I was flying at the time of, when there was no GPS in the cockpit, to today's world where you just put 3 letters in a screen and a Garmin takes you there. So that's why I'm doing this, and Curb will take it from here.
Darrell Tamam, Curb Mobility. I'm currently the head of our mobile division where I oversee our products and services for mobility throughout the country. Just for formality, a quick overview. A lot of you, of course, are familiar with us. We operate in 65 cities throughout the country, where our technology powers about 100,000 drivers, and we've been in the business for over 30 years. Now, throughout that context, we have been operating a similar Curb Uber partnership indicative of the application in multiple cities. And if you look at the application, really within Exhibit 1, we have seen that every city that we have operated this program in, there has just been overly beneficial results for everyone that's part of the ecosystem, especially the drivers. All right, so we are looking to take everything we have learned within other cities, implement it here in Vegas. We do see that there is room for growth within the industry because when we look at the results, that a lot of these things have been iterated already. You see there's benefits in drivers increasing the number of rides that they're doing. And the important thing about the increase of rides that they're doing is it's also not cannibalizing existing rides, right? So an injection of Uber referred rides into the taxi network isn't decreasing the amount of street hail or existing dispatch rides that have been already taking place. So all that really leads to is overly optimistic double-digit growth in drivers' earnings, number of trips year over year, and just an increase in overall higher driven time. So drivers are spending more time driving around within trips. So we're in the context of the pilot, our application, the logistics from the user flow, the whole soup to nuts. It's really no different than everything that was already adequately provided by Z-Trip, right? So spare us some of the time in really going over through some of the cosmetics. But some of the things that I did want to point out for us are 3 different points. First, we do believe that we do need a 90-day pilot period. The reason why is because we feel that in order to reach a level of saturation, in order to be able to provide some of the success of the program, the data, going all the way back to some of the things that were mentioned and referenced within Exhibit 1, we need that amount of time at bare minimum to scale, right? So that's the first one, 90 days instead of 30. The second is obvious. Everyone who's on our network is going to be powered through Curbs technology. And the last one is really going back to the taxi queues. There's really no big difference in saying, hey, logistically, how the taxi queues are. We're looking to operate within the same way. We're cognizant in that. But we did want to provide the option on either a partner or a driver level to be able to say, hey, if I'm on a queue, should I receive these offers, right? So that's also something we're looking to explore. So besides those three specific points, everything is, I would generally say, quite aligned.
I would just add, I'm Athan Rebelos. I'm the director of West Coast Business for Curb Mobility. And so obviously Vegas is my second home. And we have partnerships with 75% of the taxi inventory in Las Vegas. So 75% of the cabs have some aspect of Curbs technology within their cabs today, of the medallions. So we are looking to pilot with not just Deluxe, but pilot with YCS, pilot with the Lucky Western and Nellis. And if ACAB is open to it, we would we'd be totally open to piloting with them as well.
Can you go over your third point again about the?
The taxi queues?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, part of the pilot, within some taxi queues, right? We already spoke about how specific ones are going to be geo-zoned off, right? So drivers aren't even going to get offers within there, right? But there's a specific list of properties that's identified saying there's going to be no offers at all, right? I do believe there's also some properties where, if they did have access to actually leave the queue, where they may receive offers, but we want to make it very specific where if let's say some of our partners that we work with, maybe per se Deluxe or part of their organization specific drivers wanted to opt out, we would be able to configure that blocker where they won't receive those offers at all.
So I guess I'm not getting how that differs from the Z-Trip model. Because you had three things that were going to be different than the previous pilot.
There's only one thing that's specific to the taxi queue. And it's the ability to opt out to not receive offers.
Okay.
In some properties that if you were in a queue, that you would receive an offer.
So the driver would have the option to decline, to not receive offers?
Exactly.
Okay.
We want to be able to give preferential options.
And I follow-up question because I'm likewise concerned. So I thought that a taxi driver could always say, I don't want that ride.
That's correct.
And you're saying you want to change that?
No, it's so in general context of the program, if a driver doesn't want to receive the ride, they could ignore it or they could decline, right? We're just saying that within specific areas within a taxi queue, if a driver doesn't even want to see the offer, to give them that option.
Oh, okay. So they would basically be shutting themselves off of the Uber app.
We just feel that when it comes to, the taxi queue, it's a very sensitive situation. So it's something that we want to explore, see, how well it works, and giving preference is always something that could be beneficial.
Other question?
No. Oh, yes. Not on that. On the request for the 90-day pilot, can you tell us what it is you're looking to determine through that 90 days that you wouldn't be able to do in the 45 days that we gave to Z-Trip?
So first of all, I want to say, within Z-Trips, test period 300 trips is a great accomplishment. But if you really do a study, more trips you have leads to more saturation within data so that when you actually look at things, you could make more defined points. We just really feel that a 90-day period gives us enough time to actually have enough trips so we could see, hey, how does this actually influence the industry? And also it's enough time for ramp up, both on the technical and operational end. When you look at the sequencing of ramping up the programs, there's features, there's, opening it up to all the riders. There's also, just configurations to optimize dispatch algorithms, right? So when you launch things, it's always our belief that it's not a golden pair from the beginning. So we need just a little time to ramp up, and that's the tech part, right? This is new for the industry, right? So it also takes time for the operators, the drivers to become accustomed. That takes a level of engagement, of marketing, of good faith, good sentiment. And we just feel that 90 days, that bare minimum, is the minimum amount of time we need to actually really hit a lot of those benchmarks.
I guess my question is benchmarks to determine whether you can safely provide for the comfort and necessity of the traveling public, or is it a benchmark to determine whether or not it's profitable for Curb? Yeah.
I think the 90 days would give them better graphics, the whole data as itself. That's all of the above, by the way. And for the record, Mario Lacacho, again, General Manager of Deluxe Taxi, I want to put on record that because I'm trying all this stuff, everybody else could also jump in at any time. It's just not because I'm trying this pilot that everybody, because the more we test things out, because we're all a team, right? It's not like before where we're all separate. We're all a team against autonomous vehicles or against Uber and Lyft, which now we're joining. So now it's almost going to be us versus autonomous vehicles. So it's a continuing change of dynamics. So that 90 days will give us a better understanding of all of the above, where, it's an accurate stat. 30 days gives you a stat, but not as much as a 90 day. I don't know if I'm making sense or not.
Yeah, and one thing I would like to say is, as the pilot goes on, and some experience we have had is that the more data you have, the more time things, scale up, more questions. So we may not know all the questions that everyone would want to know from the beginning that we could just answer in 30 days, this is what you want. So, really giving preference into being visible, transparent, to answer all the questions, because we always believe that this is truly going to be successful. Also gives enough time to have a productive two-way dialogue.
More question?
Question. All right. No.
Mario, tell me why I'm thinking about this wrong. My individual, one of my board members' conception is before we give everybody a pilot program, we should first see if the first pilot program is successful at some level or a complete catastrophe because the administrator gets 500 complaints in 3 days or some other issue we don't know is coming down the road. So I'm trying to understand why not allow the pilot that we've approved go forward, get data October 15, and say, yeah, this looks good to us. It's no longer a pilot. Everybody go forward. And not have people like yourself investing in something that we might say isn't going to happen. And I want to, so anyway, why am I not?
Well, my answer would be I'm Italian. If I tell you the Ferrari's the best car, would you not want it? I'm Italian, right?
Yeah.
Right? So I'm biased because I'm going to tell you the Ferrari is my favorite car. But wouldn't you
Oh.
like to try the BMW
Oh.
or the Mercedes or, whatever car you want to try? I mean,
about
you,
a Subaru?
yeah, that would be a little bit off the chart. But I'm just saying, in technology, when people tell you this is it, I think you want to try this, this, and this. The question is, the hardware is going to be different. The pilot program within the software is going to be all the same. A little bit of variations, but it's all going to be tied to the same. But the hardware makes a difference. My point, we used to use center dimes. Then came DT5. Well, DT5 was like, they're both meters. They're both pilot programs, let's put it that way. But this pilot turned out to be a better pilot than this, right? That was the future. People still use center dime, but pilot was next best thing. Now we come to 2025. Now we have all this new stuff we have to try. That's,
Can I ask your question again in a different way?
Can you ask my question in a different way?
Yeah.
Sure. Knock yourself
Sure.
out.
So you're requesting 90 days for a pilot program in which after the 90 days, you're going to come back to the board and say, can we do this permanently, theoretically, if it works out? However, if we grant that to you on October 17th, when we hear the results of the Z-Trip pilot program, we might be saying this model is now approved for the industry, and you're going to be a month into your 6 weeks into your pilot program with a pending report to the board 6 weeks later to request approval to do something that we've just.
and I could go back to my statement that I'm going to try them all. I want to see George's too. And that gives you an accurate answer to all of the above. But again, these pilots are getting very, very little. It's in the hardware that everything's going to be different. Their hardware, Z-Trip's hardware, I know Captain's coming out pretty strong too with hardware. That's all going to be the determination is what's good for my guys. Some guys might be some hardware might be more advanced to use. You might have to sit them down, trying to make the horse drink a different way. And some guys are like a normal tablet, push this, do that, answer this, do that. So that's the hardware differences that I want to see them all.
If I might, Athen Rebelus curb. I think also too, there's the, Z-Trip is a taxi fleet that's piloting within their taxi fleet and it's within their ecosystem, right? And their operations and their driver culture. Deluxe is a cab company. Curb is a technology company. So we'll be piloting in theory if the interventions are what's the word, approved or acknowledged or.
Intervention doesn't mean they're a joint applicant.
Okay, so eventually, whichever, we will be piloting our technology and our hardware with all the different fleets as when and if approved and appropriate. So the scale of the fleets, the operational style of the fleets, it's all going to be different. So when you're looking at Curb, it's kind of not 100% to say it's the same as Z-Trip because Z-Trip again is a fleet. We're agnostic to the fleets.
My question would be, for the chair, would we be, as a board, approving each vendor individually, or would we be approving the model overall, regardless of the interface between Uber and the taxi?
And my question back to you, you're saying when the Z-Trip pilot gets back to us in October, what would we be doing at that point?
Right.
Well, I will tell you what my conception was, not that it is the conception necessarily has to be. And there's one thing, Ms. Webb will keep me, Ms. Webb or Dag Freely will keep me straight on this. We have an Attorney General's opinion that says we can do this for a pilot. We do not have an Attorney General's opinion that says that you may go forward and do this as a general proposition under your rate making rules. So what the industry's not baked in here is we still have a potential regulatory hurdle that I don't think has been resolved yet. We pushed hard with the AG's office. We got an opinion that says, yes, since you're not doing general rates, you're just testing something, we're going to say you can do that under the exception to the all rates have to be the same. You have to set the rates. You can't have proxy rates. So with all due respect, I get where everybody is at this, but we have a hurdle down the road here that will be very clear on October 15th, I think.
Gotcha.
So let's assume for the purposes of grins that we get an opinion that says, yes, you can do this as a general proposition of rate making. One, I'll be ecstatic because the first month I was chairman, I was told you can't do surge pricing, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do that. So, we had to start getting creative about surcharges, right? So let's assume we get a legal clearance on that. My conception is data shows me more rides. Data shows me no significant consumer problems. Data shows me software worked, this kind of hardware worked. My conception would be that it would be back on agenda to say, go forward industry and do it. And we would probably, my conception again, would be we'd have compliance requirements we'd give to the administrator, which say, you check out the hardware, you check out the software, you see them, you have Curb come demonstrate that it works just like you had Z-Trip demonstrate that it works. We don't need to be down in the weeds on that. And each company would be in a position to turn it on as soon as they got through that process. And I would want us to be able to turn the whole industry on starting October. That would be my view of the best of all cases. I don't foresee, I'm going to agree with Mario and disagree with him. I agree with you. The software should be theoretically in like Microsoft. Works in your office the same as it works in my office. The hardware is going to be different. It's going to be the different experience I get, whether I get in, whether at the airport I'm in the queue, I get into a cab that has captain, or get into one that has Curb, right? It's going to be a different experience. At the end of the day, they both take my credit card and I get it right? So it will be different, but I don't know that we need, other than the administrator signing off that it's not got glitches, I don't know that we need to be down in the weeds and that we need to process applications for each carrier.
Right.
So that's my conception, but that's just one board member's conception.
Well, I agree with you, and I also have a little bit of a concern. We have a pilot. We've established today we have a pilot. If we approve one more, 3 more, 7 more,
It's not a problem.
yeah, and there's an argument to be made that we received an AG's opinion that said, hey, you can't really do this under the current regulatory scheme.
We might not be able to do it.
Might not be, and we bypassed that by approving a bunch of pilots that then are out there operating in the wilderness.
Because to get that, not saying we changed the cards in the deck, but we said, all we want is an opinion that we could do a pilot. That's the opinion we got. We didn't try to solve the whole enchilada, as it were. And you can criticize us, maybe that we should have tried to solve the whole enchilada, but we didn't.
Well, and then also the second concern from our perspective is on October 17th or 15th or whatever the next meeting is, if we had that AG opinion and the board voted to approve this model and agency, you license and, inspect the tools that each vendor is going to use, Herb wouldn't need a pilot.
Correct. And they would be theoretically, as you already pointed out, stuck in one,
Right.
right? With reporting obligations.
Right.
So then they'd be back. And then I am certain that other people in the room will want to be in that pilot. So all of a sudden now, it's not a pilot. We've just gotten an AG's opinion under one representation and opened it up altogether. And I can kind of hear the call I get from 100 West Carson or South Carson Street. Right?
Good question.
That's the AG zone. Hey, go ahead.
I was paying attention to your hurdle between rates. Under these pilot programs, the meter's a rate. When they take an Uber ride, I don't necessarily think it falls under a rate because it's always going to be under this rate. So it's better for the consumer. So if the AG comes back, well, that's a rate. I don't necessarily see them both as a rate. Would that be a proper argument? I mean, that's not my lane. I was just taking your example.
I understand your question. I'm not being disrespectful. I'm not going to answer
Okay,
your question because I'm going to keep my powder dry
all right.
in discussions with the Attorney General's office.
So can I,
Let me ask a question real quick.
Ms.
Just-
Webb, you're smiling at me.
Maybe I opened a can and I didn't show.
No, that's
got
okay.
that seal. Okay.
Is the software is the issue between Curb and whatever Z-Trip has in their vehicles that much different that you think that it requires the similar pilot? So meaning even if we go through and we finish the pilot with Z-Trip, it's not going to give us any type of data that we need to look at because it's a different platform. Is that an issue or?
I'll say this, there's great differences. But I'm not saying that in any way that one superior than the other, that you won't get insight. The only thing I would ever say on, having at least more than one party pilot is just for diversification. You never know what could happen, what hiccups could come out of nowhere to one party that ends up delaying the overall industry, right? So when you look at anything you want to do, investments into stocks, one good backer you always have that we all also done in other cities that we operated in is at least, doing a pilot with multiple parties. I respectfully, I get what you're saying and how it could jam lock us and delay some others. But if we look at the crossover, I don't think the timing is too bad. And I'm not sure what implementations we may have that if we are asking for 90 days, maybe that's also something we could look to adjust. That way we could parry whatever risk we see or pain points the industry may come up with because of that time overlap. But I do always think multiple parties, everything's different from the technology, how it works, to the user interface, operationally. Z-Trip, pure respect, but there's always going to be great differences.
and if I may, Athen Rebelos, Curb Mobility, we essentially did a pilot of trying to do a pilot in Las Vegas and Reno. And that we're conducting that pilot, right? And we really replicated this after the way it was structured in Reno. And in fact, in Reno, it was specifically determined by the NTA commission that if they were going to allow this for one fleet, they had to allow it for all the fleets. It was only fair. And it was actually the cry of the fleets making that case. So it was considered an equal opportunity. What I will say too is they definitely were able to contrast the different pilots. And that was valuable to them, to the NTA, very valuable, and to the fleets and to the drivers. I think Vegas is a different creature for sure than Reno, but I think that there were lessons that were definitely learned in Reno with the pilot. We did commit to reporting every 100 days. Is it every 100? Yeah, every 100 in Reno, to the deputy commissioner. And we also, I would also say that Z-Trip is asking for a 30-day pilot, but they also wanted that little stagger so that they could ask for an extension if necessary at the next meeting. So essentially, I think we're asking for very much the same thing. We're just structuring it a little bit different.
My view is that the only applicant in front of us is Deluxe, so we would not be granting this to everybody in the industry. There'd have to have been joinders, interventions don't get you party status. So I don't, it's not agendized for us to be granting an industry-wide pilot here. My observation about fairness is if folks thought it was unfair, then when we tried the case last month, other people should have been at the table saying that. That's not what they said. They said, hey, we think this is a good idea. And my interpretation of the evidence was, and let Mr. George invest the money and the time and effort, and if it works out good for him, then I'll do it.
All right,
And-
okay.
yeah.
I was not at that tape. I was not there.
I get that.
I just want to put it on the record. I was not there.
Fair,
I was not
fair,
there.
Mario, fair.
Thank you. Sorry.
So I'm, there was a process people could have used and didn't. So,
And we are here, obviously, with Deluxe
I get it.
Taxi
I get it.
and
Um, So do you, Administrator, have any?
I do.
I thought so.
And the pilot program from Z-Trip was my first experience with a pilot program in this realm. They have given us full access to everything that they are doing. We can see trips live. We can see all the data. And Mr. Mel has been in contact with them throughout the process. I would only ask for that same thing if this pilot program is done. I don't think reporting back, as Athen said about the pilot program up in Reno, every 100 days probably isn't good enough. And that would be my my response to that. And if you would like, I could even ask Mr. Mel what would be more appropriate for him so he can balance between how much data he's getting and how much he can comprehend all at one time.
My suspicion would be that would be somewhere in the 10-day. So. Okay. Any other questions of the applicant or the folks from Kirk? Speak?
Nope.
I'll bring it back to the board for action or inaction.
I'm going to let someone else propose a motion because
Pardon?
I said I'm going to let someone else propose a motion because I'm not sure I'm ready to take action.
May I add something to the record?
Sure.
Mario Lagash again, General Manager, Deluxe Taxi. Todd, I'm pretty sure they could say it. I've always had my office open to any records, any computers they wanted to use. I mean, I know everybody else does, but they could just come in at any time. I don't stop anything.
I think, not to put words in the administrators, I think it's more a matter of if we were going to take action to approve this application today, he would probably need a bunch of compliance conditions that would have to be looked at next month. I think that's what he was wanting to say.
Okay. Then I'll move to approve, subject to conditions that we can talk through here. And I would recommend that we do the pilot program for a 30-day, same as, or
30
40,
days or 45.
45 days, same as Z-Trip is doing. And same, subject to all the same conditions that we set forth in the other approval or conditional approval.
Second?
I'll second it.
You will? Okay. Discussion?
I think my problem with this is, other than, as I stated before, which is I don't want to appear to be skirting an AG opinion through creative thinking, is that we currently have a pilot program going on that, if successful and if this model gets approved, Curb wouldn't need a pilot program prior to us, or they wouldn't
Going
finish
live.
going live, right? They wouldn't even be able to finish their pilot program. My other concern is I don't necessarily want to give one competitor, the one that's requested and approved a pilot program, a leg up on the other competitor that didn't get here first. But I think if Z-Trip paves the way and this goes live at some point in the future, Curb will benefit. They also have already done a pilot program in the north. So I think for that reason, from the board's perspective, from the industry's perspective, we don't need two pilot programs to see if this is going to work. And if it works and they go live and Z-Trip dedicated the resources towards making that happen, everybody will benefit. There's that argument that helps the competition. So I think for those reasons, I would not vote for it. If I did vote for it, there's no way I would vote for it if they weren't subject to the exact same conditions that we just established for Z-Trip. So no difference in the time, no difference in the window. If we're going to really call it a pilot, then it has to be
Head-to-head.
head-to-head. So, but I don't really think it is a pilot. I think from my perspective, we just established that we have a pilot. Let's see if it goes live. If it goes live, Curb and everybody else benefits.
75% of the industry.
Right.
That's Curb.
Because theoretically, next month, another cab company that isn't sitting before us today could come forward with another vendor that's not Curb or Z-Trip and say, hey, we'd like to also go with a pilot. I mean, did we establish a pilot program or not? My answer is yes, we did. Let's wait and see what happens, and everybody will benefit.
Administrator, I know that before Ms. Rushton filed the application, it was agenda item 6. There was some considerable period of time where there were internal discussions with you, and you looked at a number of metrics or whatever to get comfortable to say, yeah, go forward. What amount of time was that? Was that 6 weeks, 3 weeks?
Probably longer than 6 weeks. But Chairman, remember that along with the Z-Trip was new technology. It was a new meter. And so we were discussing the new meter portion of it as well, and trying to get that running. The industry was trying to get that going. And then the discussion of the rates came up with the integration of the Uber app, and that's why we're where we're at today. So it was longer than 6 weeks, but it was a two-part issue.
So if you were starting with Deluxe, you wouldn't need that same more than 6 weeks.
No, Curb's technology is well established in Las Vegas.
3 weeks?
Sure.
No, for you to get comfortable
Yeah,
to Vice Chair Graff's point, if his motion moves forward, it would not only be under all of the same conditions and time periods, but we'd also need to build in the time that you had with Z-Trip to get comfortable to say yes or no. So we'd need to build that in as an additional compliance item. Does that make sense?
I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
for an example, I don't want to embarrass myself with
I don't want you to embarrass yourself either.
that I know technology, but there's a difference between a 1P and a 3P system, and these guys will know what I'm talking about. And we had to overcome that. So I need to make sure that this is a 3P system, not a 1P system. So things like that we need to talk about before it can actually go.
But would you be comfortable if there was a compliance condition that we approved it, subject to you signing off and letting it go?
Yes, I would.
So another issue would be,
I'm not discarding your.
no, and if
viewpoint.
you are, it's fine, you have that right, yep. But another issue might be, an alternative scenario could have been that we denied Z-Trip's application because Curb came to the board and said, we've done this pilot as approved by the NTA in the north, everything works, we would now like to request go live in Las Vegas. And we could have, at that point, we would have said, hey, Z-Trip, we accept this pilot, we don't need your. So there's alternative scenarios in which the data is out there. What data are we looking for? Are we looking to test? Because the next step, and the only step that we need to achieve in order for any of this to continue, is the AG's office to approve, for it to be worthwhile enough that we request the AG's office to approve it or go to the legislature to get it done. So the pilot, in my mind, what are we trying to determine? Is there benefit to the public? Is it worth for continuing on to the next step? Because it might not be legal. Laws might have to be changed. How many pilots do we need to do that? Is that data already out there? Or are we simply letting companies use the technology for limited periods of time because that's all legally we have the authority to do? That's my concern.
Understand, I think, not that I'm Mario's advocate, but I'm going to just say from his standpoint as an applicant, what I think he's saying is, hey, when you tested EDC surcharges, it was substantially the whole industry where we tested surcharges. That was a pilot program too. And he's saying, I want to test other technology and give you that data so that if Mr. George stumbles, but Herb doesn't, it's really Mr. George's problem, not forecasting anything, Mr. George. Just,
It's not the model's problem.
it's not, in other words, implicit in Vice Chair Graff's motion is that if some data is great, lots of data is greater, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's essentially it, right?
Yeah, and I mean, for me, I had trouble opening some PDFs that came from the authority a couple of weeks ago and found out that it was me because I had the wrong version of Adobe, although I've got the professional version of Adobe on my computer. So the simplistic, not very technical response is, if it's a different platform, we're not going to know what the issues are, what the problems are going to be unless we run it on both programs. So if we're running pilots, it's like saying, you know, we want to run it on this system if it's a Mac and this system if it's an IBM, because we all know that those don't operate the same way. So if it's a true pilot program, then we need to run it in both types of vehicles. If it was NASCAR, they'd make sure that the chassis for the Chevys, for the Toyotas and everything else are all operating the same way, and nobody has not so much an advantage, but a problem. And that's why I would say do it. Another pilot program is just to make sure, because again, our purpose is to make sure that the public is getting a product that they should be getting. And as much as information that we're going to get from Z-Trip, I don't think it's the same information that we're going to get from Curb. That's why I say to do it. And I agree with you. All those interventions doesn't mean anything. We got a pilot person. We can authorize the pilot and go forward. So that's my motion. That's.
And your motion, to your motion, it's for the same time period,
Yep.
same conditions, no different, no,
Yeah.
frankly, I'm not criticizing, I'm just saying no unfair advantage that they're getting 90 days and somebody else is only getting 45 days. And we get all the data at the same time to make the determination. And I don't, under those criteria, I'm not concerned that we're using any scope of the Attorney General's opinion. We're just simply saying, if a pilot's okay, we're going to add more bandwidth to the pilot.
Yep. And can they start September 1?
Well, if they don't, they won't. They'll have fewer days.
We're aiming for mid-September.
Nope.
So
That's not the rule. That's not what we're saying. Make sure you understand what the chair just said. The chair just said, if he's inclined to say, as a member of the board, and I'm inclined for this too, this is the purpose of my motion, is September 1 to October 15th, the same time frame, same start date, same end date, because then we have the ability to apples to apples, even though it's a Macintosh versus
Just
a
to go,
Gala.
in my mind, I was just thinking about the totality of some things fully being skilled out, but I think September 1 starting, just to be clear, is a lot.
Okay.
There's a good story here, but 8990, right? The planes used to fly on Lorraine on those back. That was a pilot program by the FAA. Then came the microwave system. Well, the microwave system was getting interference. Then came GPS. They're all the same software, but guess who won?
yeah, right.
Because they tested them all. And I guess I'm going with that theory. That's what I'm trying to. I don't think JD is on the same board of what I'm trying to say.
So
I mean, you gotta.
There's
I'm
no
pretty sure
balance.
Captain is gonna
You
come
got
up with something.
If you think you got the vote, stop arguing.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just thinking of that when he was. I'm sorry.
Questions? No. Any further discussion on the motion? Friendly amendment to your motion?
Always.
That in addition to all of the conditions that you incorporated in, so that Ms. Webb can write this, that before it turns on, the administrator must be satisfied that all of the conditions he required for Z-Trip to establish have been satisfied.
And can we do that in the 11 days between now and September 1?
Here's my thought on that. I'm not wrapped around the axle if they don't start on September 1st. They're just that's gonna be what weight I give to their data on
As
October
opposed to-
15th.
Yeah.
If they tell me hey, we only ran it for 35 days instead of 45 days, or we only ran it for 25 days. Okay, well then I may give that less weight than 45 days.
I just want to make sure we're giving the administrator enough time to sit down with Deluxe and Curb and get the information that he feels comfortable with to transmit a letter to you or the board that says,
I signed off.
yeah, I've signed off and they're compliant with these conditions. So we got to get an order, and they've got to sit down, and they got to transmit that to everybody.
I
So
think there'll
that's
be enough, I think there'll be enough guidance out of the motion here for them to meet with him tomorrow if he's available.
I've got all the time in the world.
Okay, any further discussion on the motion? Okay, all those, pardon?
Interveners.
Are the interveners going to get to talk?
Yeah.
If they want to, they didn't come up to the table. But if you want to come up and talk, come on down. But don't,
We had to get called. George Ballin with Taxicab. We intervened in this.
got it?
We are using a third technology with Cap. So it's our integration with Uber is something that we're going to need to do too. So I don't know if that means we can intervene, to know if we can be piggybacking on the same pilot. We also filed our own to be on the next agenda to have another pilot program, because again, it's a different vendor, so it will be a different integration. The reason we want to participate and not wait until it's actually granted to somebody is that we want to get the integration going so that we can see that it works. So yes, we're not opposed to this at all. We just want to know whether we can participate in this and be held to the same compliance issues, or if we should just go forward. We already filed the application, but it won't be till the next agenda meeting. So I just want to put that out there. That's all I can say.
What's your platform?
Captain.
Oh, Captain.
Michael Went from ACAB Taxi. Basically, we're kind of waiting to see what everybody else is going to come forward with to see if it actually works or not. But we have the Captain meters in our cars. We have the Curve credit card machines. We'd like to see all of them be activated all at the same time, so that way we can choose at that moment and say, okay, this is the one we're going to go with, as opposed to perhaps if Captain didn't have theirs in front of you, now they're 30, 45 days behind everybody else in the competition. Would put them at a disadvantage, and then possibly we don't have the choice to choose them.
I don't see this as a competition. I see this as, and now what both of you are saying is, hey, just open it up to the whole industry, and I haven't even processed an application yet. So, I mean, you haven't filed one, he's filed one, it's not timely for hearing today, hasn't even been noticed, I don't think, right? So, can't take action on your application, George.
Yeah.
So, any other, yes,
Yes, sir. Michael Vale, Taxi Management. Well, besides all the reasons everyone's mentioned why to test multiple ones, from our perspective, we view our drivers as our customers. And so we want to hear what the drivers have to say, what they like using the best. This whole process has been very confusing. I think that's where a lot of this is coming from. When it was on the agenda, I wasn't prepared to give you a decision yet, because I didn't know anything about it. In the past, when we've done pilots, for example, the flat rates, we had a lot of workshops. We knew what we were talking about. So when it did come on the agenda, we can give an opinion. In my case, I answer to a board of directors that meets once a month. We meet tomorrow, the third Thursday of every month. So we didn't give an opportunity. And I do feel like we're behind the 8 ball now, because I think Mario and Z-Trip are going to have a big advantage against us, because they're going to be able to recruit more drivers right now, because, hey, they're going to have more opportunities there. And the process was, even when I called staff, I got different messaging, and I think that's where a lot of these issues came from. So I'd like, and I know you've already mentioned it, but it should be open to everyone at this point. And everyone who wants to participate should participate. In our case, I mean, nobody does anywhere close to the number of calls we do through universal dispatch. I mean, if you really want to do a test, let us test it. We're going to give you a lot of data because our drivers, that's the culture of our company. Some of these companies hasn't been their culture. Our culture for years has been to service the community. And I think if you really want a really good test, include us now.
Any other intervention comments? Back to the board for action. Is there any further discussion necessary on the motion?
Well, I'm glad we didn't have to wait till next month to hear all of the concerns based on George's application, but I still think that we're in a bit of a quandary with what constitutes a pilot. Z-Trip did come to us first. We did get an AG opinion based on that application. We commissioned a pilot to see if the model works. If the model works, we still have hurdles though, which the industry overall is going to have to overcome before any of these companies can actually do business. So I'm still for sticking to the pilot that was presented to us to determine whether the model works and whether this is legal and whether it's something the other companies want to do through one vendor or another. So I think I'm going to stick with that.
Nope. I rarely like saying this, but I am in total agreement with you. I will not support this application. And it's not anything against Deluxe or anybody else. My personal view is you can take it however you want. If you guys want to play in the space, there are rules. Those rules require you file applications, petitions, and you play when we're all in the sandbox, and you don't come back later and throw hand grenades. And I frankly see this as throwing hand grenades. It is far from certain that this will be anything that is available to the industry as a whole. So I won't be supporting the application, and I just tell that to my colleagues up front. And so if there's nothing further, all those in favor of the application signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
Nay. Thank you. Agenda item 10.
Thank you, Chairman. Take a little bit longer than 1.1 seconds, but at the very beginning of this meeting, I wanted to introduce the new chief of enforcement who is running both agencies' enforcement staffs. I didn't feel it was the appropriate time at that time to kind of let the board and the industry know what is going on. I'm sure everybody started thinking, oh, they're consolidating the two agencies right away and all of that. I want to dispel that. The budgets for both agencies are completely different. They're ran differently. There are a lot of similarities between the two agencies, but this is not a consolidation of the two agencies. The only people that can do that is the legislature. What this is there was a need to start looking at things, and that's where this is at. I just wanted to dispel that the Taxicab Authority is still the Taxicab Authority. The Nevada Transportation Authority is still the Nevada Transportation Authority, and there is no consolidation. It's just two people that are looking at their respective places. I am only over operations at the MTA. I'm not into policy or any of that stuff. I'm just strictly there to take care of the operations. So I wanted to bring that up to the board and to the industry right from the start. Unless there's other questions about that, I'll go into some statistics.
Oh, I didn't, are
No,
there any questions?
Obviously, as you look through these statistics, July again was down. It was a tough month for the industry, and I don't have a lot of reasons why other than the things that we've talked about today and in the past months. The amount of rides continues to decrease, and July historically is a rough month anyway in Clark County. The revenue of the trips, again, were down. The lease revenue, same thing, it was down. The combined monthly trips, we didn't even reach 1 million trips again for the second month in a row. That hopefully is not going to continue. I did speak with one of the industry people who said the first part of August looked a little bit better than it has. So hopefully the summer and heat is maybe on the rise and the trips will go up, but July was pretty rough. I'm gonna skip a lot of this stuff, and I hope you guys have seen. We're trying to minimize the amount of stats that I'm giving every month. I'm gonna go to the agency stats. Citations, we had 84 compared to June of last year, which was 100. June last month was 111. The year before, the July citations were at 67. We had 3 long hauls. We had 2 impounds. And I do want to address that briefly. I appreciate Mr. Balaban and his comments. A lot of our issues, like he pointed out, are that our guys are known. We have reached out to other agencies for help. And Member Decker's agency is in one of those agencies. We're trying different things to get fresh faces out there. Our new chief and I have spoke at, we've spent a lot of time talking about this, and he has some ideas.
Administrator, will you be careful not to discuss the specific ideas?
Yes, thank you. And thank you for that, because I do know that there has been some higher level discussions that have taken place.
Well, only in that we don't want some member of the public to know
Understood.
what
Understood.
law enforcement
Law
policy.
enforcement sensitive.
Yes, understood. So we realize it's a problem, but at the end of the day, I don't have people. I don't have money. I can't pay overtime. So my hands are somewhat tied, and addressing the issue of whether or not we can enforce statutes. Of course we can enforce statutes. The problem is there are elements to every crime, and we have to satisfy the elements to every crime before we can do an impound. Sending a photograph is great, but that doesn't give us the right to go out and do an impound on that vehicle. Having a top hat on top of a vehicle, anybody can put a top hat on their vehicle and drive around. That doesn't give us the right to go and impound that vehicle just because they have a top hat. We have to put more effort, more investigation in it to be able to do those things. So I just want to make it clear, we're aware of the issue. We're working on the issue the best we can. But there's a lot of different elements to that. So
You've doubled your staff though, since last month.
what's that?
You've doubled your staff since last month.
We have doubled our staff, and that's one of the agencies that we're working with. The chief, like I said, again, without getting into the weeds, the chief is running both staffs, and I think things will get better.
I don't think it's lost on the board that solicitation takes certain elements to prove, and the picture isn't solicitation, and also proof of failure to have a CPCN is not just a picture. It takes some additional evidentiary proof. As a former prosecutor, I get it.
Well, let's be clear though, this is an administrative citation. So preponderance is the standard of proof.
Lower burden, but
Right.
not no burden.
Sure, but significant difference in that burden. And like the administrator said, if you have people on the street, whether they're known or not, I mean, there are major actors that have multiple cars and the same drivers.
Yes.
Sure, those people are going to avoid you, and that's fine. They're deterrent. There are also far more, I would say, at least when I was doing what you were doing, far more individuals that aren't associated with major actors that are just out there throwing out solicitations that you can also get. But if it's got to be a priority, the agency, assuming that you had the staff, in order to make a difference in the marketplace. Otherwise, the individual actors become major actors because they think this is a great way to make money and I've got no regulatory oversight.
Agreed. Yes. Yes, point well taken. Thank you. So I'm happy to answer any other questions if the board has any.
Questions? Statistics? Yes. Legal counsel? Ms. Webb? Really? Any future agenda items that you haven't already covered? Right, that takes us to agenda item 11, our second public comment session. Matters on the agenda pursuant to NRS 241 for the purposes of hearing from the public any matters that they wish to bring to our attention that are within our jurisdiction. We may not take action on those items, but we welcome members of the public who wish to address us. Is there any member of the public present who would like to address us? Seeing none, is there anybody online who has a burning desire to say something to us? I'll close our second public comment session. That brings us to adjournment. I'll entertain a motion.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. 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 Thank you.